So let us go to our studio. Fine. Now today we will check on some functions which are used to open a file, write into the file, read a file. Okay. We can also, as I said last time, whenever you come, see that you set the working directory to the current directory where you are going to store all your files. Okay. There's another way of checking whether what is my current directory. So what you can do is there's an option. So I'll just put it in the console here. The command is get wd. So if I say get wd, that is the working directory. Okay. And you can see because I have already set this working directory now. Now what I did was instead of giving this command every time, I had gone to tools, okay, and global options. And here you can see under general, I have set this working directory here. Okay, so you can also do that. So instead of always giving set wd, that is your working directory, at the beginning of my file, I have directly gone to the options. And under that, I have set the default directory. Whenever my project starts or whenever my project is getting saved, by default, it is going to go into this particular directory. Okay, so you can do that as well. Okay, so let me close this. Secondly, coming back to file handling in R programming, we'll see some code. And as I said, whenever we want to read data from a file, which is not a part of the R environment, like last time, we accessed some data set, the MASS, M-A-S-S, MASS data set, which had that PIMA diabetes or diabetes related, you can say, records in it. It was internal to the R environment. Okay, but if I have to access something which is not in a part of the R environment, in that case, there are multiple types of files which we can access, including your text files, your Excel file, CSV file, or any other file, you name it, and we can access it. Okay. So today, in today's topic, we will try to cover CSV and Excel files, okay, as much as possible. Now, to begin with, if I have to, read a file from the console or by the default directory right now, because I have already set the default directory. The reason of showing you the default directory was whenever I try to read a file, when I pass the file name, okay, and it is without the path, okay, only the name of the file. Let us say I have a file here called input.csv, okay. So if I give only input.csv, it is going to search for the file in the default working directory. Okay, if it is found there, it is going to open. Otherwise, it is going to give me an error. Okay, like file not found or something like that. So for that, you have to be careful. Let us say you have set a working directory, but then the file which you are reading is not a part of the working directory. It is stored somewhere else. Now, in that case, you have to specify the full path where that you can say that file is stored, in which folder it is stored, which drive it is stored. Okay, so you have to give the full path. Please remember this. Okay, there are two conditions. If your file is in your working directory, just specify the name of the file. If not, then specify the full path of the file where it is stored. Okay, so keep this in mind, and then we can work on this further. Clear? Now let us try to read a file. There's a very simple function, which is your input.csv. But before we go to that file input.csv, I'll just show you that file. So let me go to the folder here, our folder. Okay, and this is my input file. You can see this one, and it is Microsoft Excel, separated values file. Okay, I can open this in Notepad. So I'll click on open with Notepad. Okay, now you can see this is my input. Now I have some column headings. So the first row by default, okay, if you do not specify it, will be considered as the column headings. Okay, so I have ID, I have name, and you can see it is separated by a comma, salary, start underscore date, and department. So we have some records here, around 8 records are there. And some salary amount I have put. Now this is, I have put in only 3 digits. Okay, now look at the date format. Dates in R is very tricky. So we have to be very careful while handling the dates. Okay, I have given, this is as MM, sorry, not MM, DD, MM, 4 Ys. Okay, that's the format. Whereas if you look at, there is a function called as.date. Okay, now as.date usually converts it into a different format altogether. It reads the date in whatever format you have, and it might convert that into year first. Okay, then the month and the date. Okay, so the format can be a bit tricky, especially when we come to dates. Okay, so we'll see how to handle dates as well. Okay, so this is my record. So I have 8 records. Let me close this file, come back to my program. And here I will just write the first statement. Let me put a comment, read CSV file. Okay, file called input.csv. Okay, so to read it, I'll first of all, I'll put data equal to, okay, I'll use read.csv. This is my function. Okay, and you can read about the comments. You can see the help tip. It says read.csv. So either I can make use of this one, or you can make use of this as well. Okay, so it gives you the name of the file, the header equal to true. By default, the header is true. That means the first line, okay, the first true will be treated as a header. Now, let us say you have a data, but you don't have the header in that particular file. Okay, now in that case, you have to specify header equal to false. Plus, you can see I have the separator here. The separators by default is a comma. You need not specify it if it is comma, but if it is some other special character, like I said, it might be a semicolon, it can be a forward slash, or it might be anything other than this. In that case, you have to specify it in double quotes. Okay, you have to specify that in double quotes. Fine. Now let us try to read this file. It is a very simple command which I'll be using. So I'll just give the name of the file. The name of the file is my input.csv. Okay, so read input.csv. Okay, now this much is enough for me to read the file, because the file has a comma, so I need not specify the comma separator. Neither I need to specify my header equal to true, because I do have the first line as the headers. Okay, I'll just come here and print the value which is there in data. Okay, so let me run this one. Control Enter. Now it says no such file or directory in. Okay, the spelling mistake. There's a spelling mistake here. Fine. So I'll just come here, execute this. You can see this 8 objects of 5 variables has been created, and I can print this. Now this is my data. Now you can observe here, we have a row number given here because there are no names to the row. So these are my row numbers. Okay, this is the ID from the file which is coming, the name, the salary, the start date, and the department. Okay, now the data which is read from a file like this, which has rows and columns, by default, while storing the data, it will be stored in a data frame. It will be stored in a data frame. Now, if you want to check whether it is a data frame or not, we can easily do that by just giving a print into bracket is dot data frame, and I can pass the parameter data. Okay, if it is true, so here you can see it is giving me true. That means it's a data frame. Okay. So remember one more thing, whenever we are trying to read data from any sort of files, okay, it will be mostly stored in your data frames. Okay, so it identifies the columns, it identifies the rows properly, and that's the reason we have this row numbers and the column headings as well. Okay, now if I want to know how many records I have, if suppose in this case, this is a very simple one, we have only 8 records. Might be, you can get a very big file, okay, and a file which is having multiple columns, which is huge in number, and even the number of records which we have. So what we can do is, we can, if I directly want to know the number of rows or the columns, I can just give print. Okay, we have an option of n col, that is n columns, which gives me the number of columns I have, okay, of this data frame. Okay, so here you can see I have 5 columns. Fine. Similarly, I can also find out the number of rows. Okay. So the function here is n row. And we pass the data. Okay, so we have 8 rows here. 8 rows and 5 columns. That's how it's easy for you to find out the number of rows and the columns. Okay. Now from the same data set, if I have already copied it into my data frame called data. Now, if I have to, just display some, let us say I want to know the maximum salary. Last time we saw this function called max. Okay. So I can write sal, or let us write max underscore salary or sal equal to. Now here I'll be using the max function, max into bracket. The name of the, you can say the column along with the data set name. So data, the $, and the salary. Okay. Run this and I print it. Max underscore salary. Okay, that is my maximum salary. Similarly, you can write some you can say query, query where we give some logical operator. Now, to find the subset of a data frame, I can also display the whole row. Okay, so I can get, let us, for example, if suppose for example, here in itself, I've got the maximum salary, but I want to know whose salary is maximum, the name of the person I want to know, or I want all the details of that particular person. Now, in that case, okay, I can make use of subset. So I can write, let us say, m underscore sal underscore data or info. Okay. So maximum salary information, you can say, or details, employee details, or whatever you want to say. Okay. Now this is equal to, we can write, make use of the new function subset. Okay, subset into round brackets. Now subset takes, the first parameter would be definitely your data set from where I want to create a subset. So your data, comma. Now here you can give a condition. Okay. So I want my salary, the salary which I have, should be equal to the maximum salary. Okay, so what I'll do here is I'll write salary. Now, please remember here, I'm not making use of data $salary. I'm just using salary word because it already knows that the data frame which I have to look into for this particular column is data. Okay, this one is already specified. So I'm not going to give you a data $salary, only give salary. Okay, so if the salary is equal to, so I can give double equal to sign. Okay, I'll be using the max function again inside this particular query of subset. So I can give here max into round bracket. Now, do I specify data $salary here, or only salary will do? So let us check salary. So I've given only salary here. Okay. And it is case sensitive. All the names are case sensitive. So depending on how you have stored your data. Now, in my case, because S is capital, okay, I have to give S capital. Okay, let us run this one. Okay, it has created some record. Okay, let us print it now. So print m underscore sal info. Okay, and here you can see I have this row 5, the name of the person, Sachin Tendulkar, salary, the start date, and the department. Okay, so all his record has been displayed. Now you can also, it's not always necessary that you write equal to and compare it. We can also make use of less than sign, equal to sign. Okay, all that stuff can be done. Or you can also give a constant. Let us say I want all the records from the IT department. Okay, I want all the records from IT department. Let us say IT, say DEPT. Okay, department. And again, I'll be using subset. Pass the data. Okay, now department, there's the variable DEPT. Okay, if it is equal to IT. Okay, I hope IT is caps. Yeah, it is capital. So, and here I come and I can print all the records of the IT department. Okay, so here I have 3 records as such. Okay, so record number 1, 3, and 6 belongs to the IT department. Clear? So this comparison. Okay, I'll also show you one simple example of your less than or equal to, especially when we are looking at, say, salary. Let us try to give multiple condition. Okay, so that I can filter the data out. Let us say the salary. Now here we have 623, 600. Let us say I want salary which is greater than 600, and they belong to the IT department. If I have to do that, okay, I'll just modify this one only. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just add one more. Let us say salary first. Salary should be greater than 600. Okay, now I have to combine the two conditions because I have to give two conditions. I'll be using AND operator. So here we get AND. So there are two conditions now. So both the conditions should be satisfied. Only then that record is going to be fetched and stored here. Okay, so let me check whether it works. So I'll control enter. Okay, and I print this. Okay, now you can see previously I was getting three records. One of the record was with salary 578. Okay, now we have only values which is above 600 and the department is IT. Okay, so whenever, what about OR? If I have to give OR condition, then in that case, you have to give that simple pipe sign. Okay, it's like this. I'll just show you. Okay, it's this one. Okay, this is your OR. Clear? So and OR. Now in this case, I have a single AND. Now, how do I access, or can I give some, filtering on date as well? Now, as I said, dates are very, difficult to handle. And I want you all to do lots of experiment on dates, especially depending on how the dates are stored. You have to first look at how the date is stored. So in this case, you can see it is DD, MM, and 4Ys. Okay, that's how my date is stored because I have here 21, the 5th month, and 2030. Okay, that means the data which I have stored is in a different format. Now let us look at this. I'll try to show you a simple way, and then we'll see how the output differs, when we make the changes. So to retrieve the data, which is, let us say, of all the, the people who have joined after 2014, let me check if I can get that data. So let us name this as sub data or S underscore data. Let us give this S underscore data. Okay. Again, I'll be using subset the data. This remains as it is. Now here comes the condition. Now, whenever we are comparing two dates, now in the memory, if you look at the data column here, this one, let us look at the structure first. So I'll do one thing. I'll come here. I'll display str into bracket data. Okay, let's run this one. Okay. Now here you can see the date value is not stored as a date, but as a character. Okay, CHR. Okay, that means I need to convert this into a date if I have to compare it. Okay, so whenever I'm writing some logical statement based on dates, see that whether it is first of all stored as a date. If it is not, then you need to convert that data into date first, and then you have to use the comparison operator or the logical operator. Okay, so in this case, because it is stored as a string, okay, first thing I have to do is I have to convert this. So I'll write as dot date. Okay, this is my function. It converts the character. You can see this one, it's written here, function to convert between character representations and objects of class date. Okay, so I'll use this one. Inside the parameter, I have to specify, now in this case, it is start date. So start underscore date. Now date D is small. Okay, so it is going to convert this. Now this I have to compare. So I want all this date should be greater than, again, as dot date into bracket. I have to specify the values here. Now while specifying the value, okay, now I'll be giving DDMM only. So let us give 01, a dash, 01, a dash, 2014. Now look at the data which I'll be getting here, and let me print this also. So I'll print S underscore data. Okay, you will be telling me the reason why I'm getting this output. So let's run this one. Okay, and I run this. Fine. Now, please tell me why I got records. Okay, if you look at the records here. Let me clear this first, and because it's getting too much. I'll clear this, I'll run it again. And sorry, not this one, this one. Okay, this is my records. Now, what is the reason why I'm getting 2013 also? Why I'm getting 2013 records as well? Because if you look at the condition, according to the condition, it should give me only records beyond 2014, right? Beyond 1/1/2014. But it does not do that. What is the reason? Okay, let us try to print, use this as dot date into bracket. I want to print all the start dates. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll write data here, sorry, small data, the $sign and the start date. Okay, and I'll just run this one. And here you can see it is converting the date. Okay, but look at the values. It says 0001, 01, and 20. That means if you look at the first record of my table, let us look at the second record. Here we have 23rd, right? So it is adding 0. So the first value is being treated as a year. Okay, this is treated as a year. Okay, so if I have to specify this part, okay, let us put the year first, the month, and the date. Okay, we'll put it that way. So let me convert this. If I change the format, so I give a comma and in double quotes, I give percent. Now it is stored in which format? It is stored in DD. So I'll give D, a dash, then a month is stored, and the year is stored. Now, while giving the year, I have to, because it is 4 digits, I have to give capital Y. Okay, and now when I display this, so let us run this one. Okay, now look at the value. Now, because I've specified the date in which the format in which the date is stored in my data set or data frame is the date first, the month, and the year. Now it is able to convert this into a proper form. So I got this 2012, 0101, then I got this 2013, the month and the date properly. Okay, that means if I have to compare this, I need to give the format in which my data is stored. And this function as.date converts the date into a different format. So the year comes first. The year comes first. So year in this one, when I'm comparing, I'll write 2014, 01, 01. And in this, I'll specify the format here. So I'll give %D, %M, %Y. Let me check whether this works now. So control, enter, and I print this. Okay, so I have, yeah. So if you look at this data now, I've got only the records which is greater than 1st Jan 2014. Okay, so be careful. That's why I was telling you, okay, be careful when you're handling dates. Okay, in fact, in any programming language, whenever you are handling dates, you have to be careful with what format it is. Okay, how we can convert that into a proper format and do the comparison, or whatever you want, operation, whatever calculation or operations you want to perform on the date, you have to be very careful. Clear? Now, what if I want to give this also in 01, 01, 2014? What is one change I'll do here? Anyone? I want to give this also in the same format. So what should I do? No, that's your assignment. Try to find out what you will be doing if I give only the date in this format. That is your DMYYs. Okay, so please try to find out this. I'll make the change back to the original one. Okay, coming ahead. Let's try to write into the data set now. So I think I have shown you how to handle your queries also, how to get the subset, how to get the maximum, minimum, sum, all those functions can be used with data frames. Okay. Now let us see if I want to write this record. Now we have already got this record of some data. We have some subsets. Okay. Let us write one of the subsets into the file. Now to write into the file, we have this write.csv function. Okay. Now, if we can write this write.csv, what happens is, if suppose the file is already there, it is going to overwrite it. Okay. So be careful while giving the name of the file. So if I have to give a name and later on I realize that there was already a file with the same name, okay, which has got overwritten by this new content, and I needed that file, then that data is lost. Okay, so be careful. Let us give the function now to write. So let me give a command first. Write into CSV file. Okay. So to write it, I have to just give write.csv. Now look at the content here. CSV, it prints its information or the argument here. In this case, it will be my data frame which I'll be writing. So I'll pass that. Now in this case, there are some parameters which are important. Now X represents the data frame. Okay, X represents the data frame which I want to write. So let us write the IT records. So I want, okay, let us write this S underscore data. So I'll write S underscore data and put a comma. Now in this case, even if you want to write into the file, okay, without passing any parameter, it is fine. Okay, I can just give the name of the file and finish it off. Only 2 parameters more than enough. Either you can give file equal to and the name of the file like this, file equal to and the name of the file. Or you can also give in double quote directly the name of the file also. Let us give this as output2, because I already have some file by the name output. So I'll give output2.csv. Okay. So this is my file which I want to store in. Okay, I'll just press Control, Enter. Okay, the content has been written into the file. Let us check whether the file has been created, and we'll try to open that file. So this is in my default directory R. Let me check output2. You can see this one, and I'll open this in Notepad. Okay, that's my data. That is my data. Now look, you can observe something different in this. Okay, look at the first value. Now instead of starting writing from ID, it has something here. Okay, which is 3, 4, 5, and 8 again. Now these values, this value which has come twice, this is not ID. Okay, this is your row numbers. Okay, these are your row numbers. Now I don't want this to happen. Whenever I'm writing the content, the row number is also coming along with it. It is going to confuse me. So I can close this. Let's go back. Okay, and make a change here. Now, as I said, in sometimes, if let us print this value, what I'll do is I'll read it. I retrieve this data which I've written, and let us say this is new data equal to read.csv, and this time I'll specify the file name as output2.csv. Okay, output2.csv, and I'll run this one and print this. Look at the data, how it comes. Okay, now here you can see this. There was a blank here. It has been named as X now. And we have got this 3, 4, 5, 8. Then the ID, this is the actual record. These are the actual record, actual columns. ID, name, salary, start date, and department. I don't want this X to be written here. Okay, now to avoid this, I have to specify that the value which I'm storing. Okay, so there are some parameters, the row names. Okay, so this is actually the row numbers. So what I can do here is I can go back to this write function here. Okay, put a comma. Okay, and I can give row.names equal to false. Okay, I don't want the row names to be entered. Okay, so I run this again. Okay, get the data and print the data. Now you can see this column which was added is not there anymore. Okay, it is going to ignore that row names. Okay, so by default, what happens if you don't have the row names get added on its own. Okay, so one way of removing it is just specifying row.names equal to false. Okay, it's that simple. Clear? Any doubts in this? Okay, when we are writing into the file, please remember, okay, you can specify the separators also. Now, by default, it will be a comma, okay, based on the data which I have. So you can see in the file also, when we write into the file, the values are separated by a comma. Clear? You can, if you want to know more about the different parameters, you can explore into this further and try to understand how this works out. Okay. Now let us go ahead and try to read Excel files. Now for Excel files, let us create another file first. I'll create another file. Okay. Now, first of all, I need to check whether I have got this Excel package installed. Okay. Now there are different ways of checking whether I have this package installed. Either you can directly go here in this packages list, okay, and search for it. Last time I showed you how to check it from here, okay. But we also have a function which will help me, check whether the packages are there. If the package is not there, I can, install the package in my program as well. Now you are not going to get the same interface. Might be you're designing your program and you're providing it to some vendor, okay. And on the vendor's machine might be, or the person, the other programmer, he might have not installed the Excel package. So in that case, your program should not stop working. Okay, so what you can do is write the code inside the file which you have created, the R file, okay, and install the packages if it is not there. Okay, so it can be done as well. Now I'll just show you how to check, whether we have to verify whether the package is installed or not. Okay, there's a function which gives you the grep function. Okay, either I can make use of grep or grep-l. Okay, these are the same, ways. There's some minor difference. Okay, but these are all the functions which searches for a match. That means it is going to search for the format, the pattern which I'm going to provide. Now, in this case, I'll be providing the Excel extension, okay? And it is going to search in the folder, or search the, the vectors or whatever elements I have in the vector. It is going to search there, okay? So I won't be using grep. Let us use grep L, okay, this one. So I'll give this function. Now inside this, I have to specify what I want to search for. So I am searching for the package XLSX. Okay, that is the package name which I want to search. And I want to search in my installed package. Okay, so there's a function which gives me all the installed package, which is like this, installed. Now this one, installed packages. Okay, so it is going to give me whether what it will do is it will check for the first element. If it is found, it is going to give you true, else it is going to give me false. Okay, but look at this when I run this one. Okay, so many false I'm getting, because it is checking each and every entry. Okay, it is checking each and every entry in my, you can say install.packages, whatever it's returning. It is going to compare each element, and for each element, it is going to either give true or false. Right? Now, I don't want this to happen. I want, as soon as it finds one of the value matching, it should give me either true, if there's even one matching, and it should be false if no string is matching with this value here. Okay, so we have another function which is known as any. Okay, so I'll put any this here. Okay, and at the end, I'll close this. Now it is going to just, as soon as it finds me any one value, so any one true value or false value. So I'll get this here. I'm getting true because I have already got the Excel file, the package installed here. Now, in your case, if suppose those, especially those who have not installed this, see that you install it by using the function install dot packages, and inside this you have to specify XLSX like this. Okay, this is how you install the package. This is one way of doing it if you want to do it from the code. The other way is you can go here also, click on this install option, and you can specify the package which you want to install. You can see there's a package here, XLSX. Okay, you can do that as well. Now, after doing this, if suppose, in some cases, even I was getting some errors when I installed the Excel packages. Okay, after that, what happened was when I tried to import it, how do I import this? I have to include this. I can just give library into bracket XLSX. Okay. Okay, like this. I don't want to install this because I already have it. So I'll just delete this one. But if you want to do it, you can just check, write a if condition for this, if this equal to true, false, and all this, you can do that. It's very simple. So I won't go into that right now. Okay, so I'll include this. I press enter. Okay, it's got included. But in some cases, you might get an error when you're trying to include the Excel package. The reason is if you don't have Java installed on your machine, on your laptop or on your desktop, this is not going to work out. Okay, the first thing remember is that your machine should have the Java development kit installed on it, JDK. So first thing you do is check whether you have JDK installed. If it is not there, please install JDK. It's freely available on the Oracle website. Okay, so you can go there and install it. We have less than 1 minute left. I want you all to rejoin. I'll stop the session now. Please rejoin again.